I'm super excited to bring on our very special guest speaker. I met Jeff Hoffman, a well-known serial entrepreneur and worldwide motivational speaker, producer of a Grammy-winning jazz album and Emmy-winning television show, and global mentor to youth um, and entrepreneurs. He is the chairman of the Global Entrepreneurship Network and one of the founding group of Priceline. I actually met him in 2016 at a conference event, and I tell the story all the time. And I walked up to him and I asked him to give me one advice when I was looking to start my business. And he gave me one advice that changed the trajectory of my business. So when I asked him to provide insight on this panel, and he said yes, I was super excited and giddy. And so I'm happy that he's here. So Jeff is going to talk about, he has a framework called the 3 R's of business survival. And so I will let him take it away.
All right, thank you so much. I was enjoying that conversation. I was listening in to you guys there. So that was an excellent conversation. So yeah, let's just take a few minutes. I'm really more interested in kind of being interactive and you know, what you guys want to talk about. But let me sort of quickly do the 3 R's. At the beginning of COVID, when all this happened and so many business owners and small businesses were suddenly shut down without access to their normal revenue streams or customers, a lot of people didn't know what to do. And so early on, I sort of wrote up some tips called the 3 R's, which I'll explain in a second. But I think only because, and not necessarily that mine were better, but because I did it so early, these 3 R's wound up in Inc. magazine and Entrepreneur and Forbes magazine. It got picked up by a lot of places because early on, like I said, people weren't really sharing advice. So I want to share because it's still very relevant. So these are the 3 R's. I'll tell you what they are and then we'll walk through them and then we'll have some time for some questions. So it's repurpose, retool, and redeploy. And let me go through each of those things. Let's start with repurpose. And so again, when COVID hit, so much of the world changed around us, and so many of us, literally, our business are stopped. Whether we were a physical business and we could no longer take on customers, or even if we were an online business and our service was no longer as relevant to people or as priority, whatever it was, many businesses found that they could suddenly not generate revenue from their existing revenue stream the way that they were. So this is sort of an exercise that I did, this repurpose thing, that is something that I really share with, challenge everybody to do. The first part, I'm going to literally give you guys homework. The first part of this homework starts by a clean sheet of paper. You know, I went to my whiteboard. And on the left side of the whiteboard, COVID, during this moment, in, you know, slow moment and uncertain moment in time, this is a really good time to take inventory, to be introspective. So what I did was I stopped and I asked myself, like I said, very introspective. I sat down and I said, at this moment in time, as of now, what do I really bring to the world? What do I offer? As a business, if you're a sole proprietor, as a person. By the way, this exercise applies to individuals even if you don't have a business. So I grabbed a marker, I went to the left side, and I made a list of what I thought were my skills, my talents, and my resources. What do you have to offer the world? What skills, what talents, what resources? Resources might be physical things. If you have an office with employees, if you have equipment, if you have vehicles, furniture, computers, I just listed it all. I said, here's me at this moment in time in the world, what I got, what I bring to the world, what I can give. So that's the first half of the repurpose exercise, is listing everything you have. By the way, that it can include your products and services. Remember, we're talking your skills, your talents, your offerings, your gifts, and your resources, all on the left. On the right, I started realizing something. There are a whole new set of needs in the business world that nobody had jumped on because none of us were expecting this, right? In fact, overnight, the world was thrown into disruption and chaos. Kids were sent home from school and employees were sent home from work. And disruption and chaos, while those might be scary to some people, the truth is that for entrepreneurs, disruption and chaos are your alarm clock. Man, I cannot imagine anything more exciting in the world. Again, we're not disrespecting the negative side of COVID at all. That goes without saying. We're focusing on what we can do positively, though. But when the world goes into chaos, I can't wait to get up the next morning, because that means there's some opportunity to do something that no one's thought of yet because no one needed it before today. So it means the playing field is level again and the slate is wiped clean. And the beauty of being an entrepreneur, right, is that we're in the idea business. We're idea farmers, basically, right? We plant seeds of ideas, we feed and water them and hope some of them would grow. And the beauty of ideas is that ideas don't care where they came from. The truth is, ideas don't care if you're black or white, Christian or Muslim, male or female, young or old. A good idea is a good idea no matter who thought of it. And once a good idea is released in the world, it's pretty hard to stop it if people know that it's a really good idea. In fact, I was having this discussion one day with some guy that was very ethnocentric. Only Americans are smart people. And young people don't know anything. This is literally what he believed. And we were actually chatting on Skype. And this guy was telling me his anti-immigrant, anti-foreigner, anti-young people. Before I hung up on him, stop wasting my time, I said to him, hey, how's the call? He said, what do you mean, how's the call? I said, how's the Skype call going? He said, Skype's fine. I use it every day. And I said, well, you should probably stop using it because it was created by a 17-year-old Estonian kid. And apparently you don't like immigrants or young people, so you should stop using Skype. He said, why would I ever stop using Skype? It's a great product. That is the beauty of entrepreneurship. A good idea always wins. And it's the way out of the argument about what we look like or where we came from. So I started looking and I said, the whole world has changed and it needs some new ideas. I'm going to give you just 3 examples. So what you're going to do on the right side of the board is you're going to make a list. Think this through. On the left, you've made a list of what you bring to the world, what you have to offer, your skills, talents, resources. On the right, you make a list of new needs, things the world needs now that it didn't need before, so people weren't ahead of you. It was a fresh start. So here's 3 industries, giant global industry. You know what else was amazing about COVID? It was one of the first times in human history that the whole world was fighting the same war against the same enemy. And so what that means is everybody in the world needs changes, needs new services and products to these 3 industries. The first one's obvious. It's collaborative virtual work. Millions of employees and companies all over the world only did business in their office, in their conference room, at their whiteboard, the old way, right? When all these businesses all over the world were shut down, a large percentage of them, it may not be anybody on this call. We may all be tech savvy, but most of the world, I talk to CEOs every day. I'm the chairman of the Global Entrepreneurship Network, and I have people on the ground in 177 countries. So we talk to thousands of business owners all over the world all the time. And most of them are saying, I have no idea how to run a virtual company. I don't know how to collaborate online. I don't know how to take advantage of at-home workers. But you know what else a lot of them are saying? That post-COVID, they may not go back to a 5-day work week. They're discovering that letting people work from home at least some days a week is better for their lives, and it makes them better, more well-rounded employees. And they can access employees in other cities outside of their geography that they never thought of before when they thought they used to hire people. So the whole world of work, online collaboration tools, even socializing tools, sharing tools, even video tools like this, there's a whole wave of better technology that we could use to be doing meetings and stuff right now. That is a global industry, the future of work, that needs a ton of innovation. So what you do is you look to the left and you say to yourself, is there anything that I bring to the table? Is there any way I could repurpose my skills, repurpose my technology? I'll give you some early examples to meet the new world. By the way, before I do that, let me finish the other 2 industries. And these are just 3 of them. The next one is school. The whole world of online education changed overnight. Schools all over the planet have no idea how to do remote learning. And there's pieces of it people don't think of. Teachers we've been talking are saying, no one ever trained me how to be an online teacher. They just said, okay, you're teaching your classes virtually now. So there is going to be some smart entrepreneurs that develop teacher training schools. Schools themselves and school administrators don't know how to do virtual learning. Students don't, and parents don't. There will be billions of dollars made in the future of education, just like there will be in the future of work. And a third example is medicine. When everybody was stuck at home and either couldn't go to the doctor or didn't want to, we suddenly discovered that for years we've been talking about telemedicine, but we really haven't done anything about it. So telemedicine is this whole new, in fact, my doctor called me recently and he said, I can't believe I'm saying this, but not only did I just conduct my first ever Zoom patient visit, but he said, a thought occurred to me. Before, patients for a doctor are only people that physically can drive to your office because you go see the doctor. And he said, if I can get good at online medicine, I could serve patients all over the US and dramatically grow my practice. He's like, how do I do that? He's waiting for help. So these are three giant: education, healthcare, and future of work, global industries that smart people are repurposing. I'm just going to give you an example just because it's a true example of when I did this exercise. So it was a young entrepreneur. She was in the vodka business. She has a distillery in the US. She makes vodka. That's what she does. And she said, Jeff, my customers are liquor stores and every state in the country closed them because they were non-essential. So I don't sell to consumers. I sell to stores. The stores are closed. So they're not buying anything. I went broke. Got to said, no, all my employees, I can't sell vodka right now to liquor stores. And she said, do I close my business? What do I do? So I said, let's do this repurpose thing. I said, write down on the left side of the board what you have. So she wrote down their talents. Their talents are chemistry. Their resources are chemists. Their skills are mixing alcohol. Their assets are these big giant mixing tanks. We wrote all that down on the left. And she said, okay, now what? All I have is chemists who know how to mix alcohol in these big tanks we have to make vodka. And I said, let's do the other side. On the other side, at this moment in time, we wrote down, what are new needs of the world? Well, at that moment in time, everybody, in addition to being out of toilet paper, everybody was looking for hand sanitizer, and you couldn't buy it anywhere. And so that was one of the many things we wrote on the right. What does the new normal look like? What does the new world need? And when we wrote down hand sanitizer, among other things, I said, what I'm asking you guys to do, now you take a marker and you draw a map from your resources to new requirements of the new world. And when we drew this line, she said, oh my God, you know how you make hand sanitizer? You have chemists who mix alcohol. It's a different kind of alcohol, but it's chemists mixing alcohol in tanks. And so overnight, I said, do you think you can deploy everything you have into that business? There was no vodka to be made. She would let all her employees go. She brought them all back, started making hand sanitizer. And just to give you a clue, she'll probably never go back into the vodka business. She sells hand sanitizer. Her revenues are 3 times what they were post-COVID. I mean, they're 3 times now post-COVID than they were pre-COVID. And she's had to hire everybody in the city. She has 4 times the staff now because she repurposed her skills to solve a new world problem. Already, even if hand sanitizer ain't going away, but already the reason she told me she'd never make vodka again, because a shampoo company called her and said their customers are saying, even in future soaps and shampoo, what better cleansers will they have in them cleaning solutions for whatever follows COVID? So she's getting contracts to make shampoo for people with better cleaning solutions. Repurposing is listing your assets on the left, listing the requirements of the new world on the right, and trying to map yourself into the future. Now let's go to the second one of the 3, which is retool. And let me say it to you this way, guys. There is no way you should leave COVID with anything but, well, let me rephrase that. You should come out of COVID stronger than you ever were going in. You should be stronger, smarter, and better as a company and an individual. Why is that? Because you've never been online this much and you've never had this much time. when you're not in the office, and a lot of meetings that we can't remember why we even wasted an hour in that meeting. Now, yes, we're doing some of those on Zoom, but you're home more, you're online more, all the statistics show this, right? And you have access. So here's what I want you to do in retooling. I'm going to give you a challenge. You already wrote down in my repurpose exercise on the left side of your board, you wrote down all of your skills and talents. What I want you to do is look at that and make a commitment to add one new skill to the left side, to yourself or to your company before, during this COVID time, during this time that everybody's not back at work full time and in their offices. So here is an example of retool. You're going to develop one new skill during this time. I went to one company, what I'm telling you guys, and they were a tech company. I said, do my exercise on the left, write down all your skills and talents. They did. I said to the owner of the company, I asked her, tell me one new skill, and I'm asking you all to think about this. What's something you always wanted to know? I don't care if it's learning Mandarin. What's something you've always wanted to learn that you've never had the time or made the commitment to do? You're going to do that now. So you know what she said? She said AI. I read about AI. Everybody nods and pretends they know what artificial intelligence is, just like they all lie and pretend they know what the blockchain is when most people don't. And she said, but I don't really know what AI is, but I think it's important and could improve my business. So her commitment for retooling was for everyone in her company. It's only 6 people, but they were all going to learn AI. So the beauty of right now is everybody in the world is offering free online education and training courses during COVID, hundreds of thousands of free courses. So we signed up all of our employees for a free class. It's 90 minutes a week. It's one night a week or 2 nights a week for like 90 minutes. So it's just an hour or 2 a week that you commit. They do it from home, online. They are all getting certificates in applied AI. They could not be more excited. When COVID ends, whatever that means, sometime soon, her company's website will change, and it will say that all our designers and developers have certificates in applied AI. Not only are they a better company, but once they learned AI, they've already started developing a predictive consumer behavior algorithm that is going to blow away their competitors because they committed to retooling. So that's the second, and I'll do the third thing and then stop, is retool. Commit to learning something new. And by the way, I was talking to one woman, and she said, well, I'm not even working now, so what skill can I learn? You know what we wound up doing? I said, what are you struggling with? And she said, my kids are driving me crazy, and I'm going to kill them. And I said, why? And she said, I've never had to parent this much, and I don't know how to homeschool. She is in 2 classes. She is taking an online parenting course. And she said, I never knew how to talk to my teen until I took this course. And she's taking a homeschool, an online education course called How Parents Participate in Virtual Education. Commit to learning a new skill and retooling. Now here's the last one, which is redeploy. And redeploy is more of a giving thing. On the left, you made that list of the skills and assets and resources you have. So on the right, we're going to make another list, our third list on the right. On the right, I want you to think about the first responders in your community in either of 2 pandemics, because there's at least 2. There's really 3. If you ask me, COVID's a pandemic. The death of small businesses in America. I was on national TV the other day. I got to, unfortunately, report that 2 million small businesses closed their doors forever in the second quarter alone in the US. And our whole racial inequality and racial injustice pandemic, and that's a pandemic. That's not a one-time thing. Make a list of the people in your community that are fighting any of those battles. And so I had a company do this. And this company was a marketing company. So on the left, they wrote down that we are graphic designers, right? And we're online marketers and SEO and SEM people. And on the right, she wrote down, in our community, there's a big hospital that's the front lines in the battle against COVID. And she goes to me, Jeff, my company can't help a hospital. We're not doctors or nurses. And I said, here's what I want you to do in the redeploy. Just call them. And she's like, fine. She rolled her eyes. It's kind of a waste of time. So she calls the hospital and speaks to the administrator. And she did what I asked her to do. She said, my company is not working full time, so we have extra hours in the week. She said, I have 2 graphic designers, 2 online marketers, and an SEO, SEM person. And she said, I know that you need doctors and nurses, but anything we can help you with? And the hotel said, oh my God, we have been trying to create an online information campaign to correct the disinformation about COVID, how to treat it, what the causes, the symptoms, everything about it, whether masks work or don't. They said, we're trying to create an online information campaign in our city about COVID, but we're doctors and nurses, not graphic designers and online marketers. So what we wound up doing was she loaned her graphic designers to the hospital a couple hours a week. The hospital built a COVID information website. The website won a national award. The website got grant money from the government to create more COVID information systems. The hospital hired her entire staff for all the extra hours they had when they weren't working. They hired the whole staff using grant money they got because their website was way better than any hospital because actual graphic designers built it that the hospital couldn't really afford to hire. What it does for your employees is, even if you don't get paid, when you're in a battle, it feels a lot better to be part of the solution than to sit home and stress all day. These graphic designers were telling me, oh my God, I'm only going 2 hours a week to the hospital, but I'm doing something. I'm part of the community. I'm part of the war against COVID, not just sitting here stressing about when this will end. So those are the 3 R's: repurpose, retool, redeploy. It's an exercise for you to do an introspection, seeing what you bring to the world, what your gifts are on one side, and on the other side, seeing new ways you can deliver your gifts and talents to the world. I want to throw one last thing out here, just in case this helps anybody. One of the things that we've been doing is we got data, guys, and we got data that as we talk about the PPP program, unfortunately, I wasn't able to join you guys for this whole session. So if I'm repeating something, I apologize for that. But we got real data, and the data showed this, that there were really 5 populations that are not getting the PPP money, at least. So you guys probably already know these numbers. Almost 90% of all Black-owned businesses that applied for PPP did not get it. 91% of all Hispanic-owned businesses. High 80s% of women-owned businesses. The other 2 were LGBTQ-owned businesses and veteran-owned businesses. Are all around the 90% of the ones that applied did not get PPP money. So we decided to do something about it. As one of my friends who grew up in the streets of Miami says, don't talk about it, be about it. So we decided to be about it. We started our own grant program, giving out $10,000 cash, not loans, just cash. You don't pay it back, and not government money, our money, to small business owners, Black-owned businesses, female-owned businesses, Hispanic-owned businesses, just minority-owned businesses that aren't getting any government money. And our criteria is kind of, if 10 grand cash will help you keep your family alive for a few months, then that's who we give it to. We're trying to give it to the people that need it the most. If you know somebody, if you need the help or you know somebody, now we can do grants all the way up to $50,000. It's covid19businesscenter.com. And you might see one of my closest friends and my business partner in this is Pitbull, the rapper. So you might have seen Pitbull and I have been doing public service announcements on TV so that he's just helping me. Turns out Pitbull has 100 million social media followers, which is roughly only 100 million more than I have. He and I have been doing this program together and doing a lot of television commercials to let people know that there's help outside of the U.S. government.